beautiful hearts. I am so honored and pleased to share some incredible wisdom with you today. This is truly where science and spirituality meet and progresses into our beautiful future and what awaits us as humanity as we evolve. Jerry Jin is with me. Let's call him Dr. Jerry Jin. He has a PhD, an MBA, and a BS, and he's in the biochemistry world. He is an entrepreneur. He spent 55 years in the pharmaceuticals, diagnostic, laboratory medicine, and biotechnology industry. As an entrepreneur, he co-founded Chemtrack, Osteolex Pharmaceuticals, Livionics, so many other companies. And yet here he is now measuring energy. And this conversation is more about consciousness. But what I love about it is the science behind it. Jerry's scientific mind now exploring consciousness. And by the way, Jerry is a chairman of the Foundation of Mind Being Research. Jerry Jin, Dr. Jerry, thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
I'm very happy to be here. And you can call me Jerry, that's fine. I'm just Jerry. I'm just an ordinary guy and enjoying life and enjoying all the things that I'm doing right now and exploring consciousness and the energies that are now coming to the earth and that's we've been growing and everyone has been growing. And I love that.
What a humble character you are. You are a real master. And I know in this conversation we may not get there, but you've probably had past lives as a master, and those gifts are coming online now. So thank you for that. So you can connect with energy all over the planet. You can connect with souls and beings all over the planet, incarnated or not incarnated. That's an amazing thing. What we're going to talk about today is this rebirth and the I am essence. And the energy has accelerated so much since 2023. And oh my goodness, no wonder we're feeling it. We're going to go deep into that. But first, before we get there, let's go into your background, Jerry, because here you are, so scientific. Oh my gosh, a PhD in biochemistry and the founder of companies, pharmaceutical companies. What led you into the consciousness? Where on your journey did you make that bridge over this way? Was it there all along, or did something happen?
Well, something did happen in the sense that back in about 2003, I went to a yoga class, and the first aspect of the yoga class, I just sold Oculex, and so I was figuring that, let's take a yoga class and see what this is all about, and might help my back. And the person who was teaching it was a guy by the name of Guy, and he he said, let's do a little bit of Qigong before we start. And so we did. We built up the energy, the central energy. And then he said, well, put your hands between your belly button and your chin area or chest area and feel the energy. And I had never done that before. And as I did that, I felt the energy. And he said, let it build. It'll be like a weight. And it did. It was now a weight that I could sort of bounce up and down. It's like in Tai Chi, you play with a ball of energy. It's the same thing. As soon as I did the Tai Chi movements, and I had never taken Tai Chi, I felt that energy between the hands. And then I said, well, can I see this energy? Because I certainly felt it. I could feel I can send the energy out, but can I see it? So I put my hands in front of my face and moved it up and down, and you see all the lines of energy that are there. And if you look at a person, you see the rays that are come out of everybody. Everyone has that, and I didn't realize that. And then at night, it was very interesting. They said you build the energy and you send it out into the world as a blessing And so in the moonlight, darkened room, I put my hands out, and you can see the beams of energy go out from the hand, or you can point your finger and you see the beams of energy going out. And that got me into wanting to understand this in a deeper way. So I read every single book on energies, subtle energies, and there really weren't that many. Uh, but I read everything that was out there that I could get my hands on.
Mhm.
And as I learned about all of these energies, I figured that, well, science can only go so far. I knew enough quantum physics. I certainly know plenty of biochemistry, chemistry. I knew laboratory medicine, so I endocrinology, molecular biology, et cetera, et cetera. And I knew that people will say, well, you can do this with electrons or protons, neutrons, but that never explained what they were or what anything really is. It's just words that describe characteristics. And I knew that. And I knew that if I really wanted to understand what was going on, I'd have to go beyond all of this. And so I made the decision to go beyond. So I read about all the masters in the past, whether it be from India or everywhere else, and Yogananda, et cetera, et cetera. And so I went on a path towards enlightenment because I figured that that's the only way you're going to know what everything is all about. And I did. I went along this path, read David Hawkins' stuff, learned what enlightenment was in his mind, uh, etc. And eventually, I got to a level where I know as much as I possibly can, and went to every healing class that there was out there, and learned how to do bits and pieces of healing with the Reiki, body talk, quantum touch, etc. I did them all at that point
Wow.
in time, and I could do things that still didn't explain who I am or what everything is. I read Walter Russell stuff. And that was the first one that really resonated in terms of what everything really is. Because Walter Russell, through his viewing of what everything is, came to understand that everything is, in fact, light. And therefore, matter is really nothing more than the clockwise rotation into a center, and decay of everything is really the counterclockwise motion of light. And that is the basis of what really matter is, which is not taught anywhere else. But that is what things are. And later on, as I got into radiesthesia, etc., I learned how that applied to everything that is out there. So that was sort of the basis of it. And from there, it just mushroomed, and met my great, wonderful friend, Joachim Wippich, who's really, really connected. And he taught me affirmations. And affirmations is just a way of creating. We're all creators and we create with thoughts. We just don't think about that. And so I learned the aspects of that. And that's the reason I wrote my first book, because he's from Germany and he didn't have a way of getting the message out into the world that you can really connect, and you can do amazing things and heal with just words. And I got my first book out, The Seeker and the Teacher of Light. So Joachim was the teacher of light. Got that book out into the world. And then I met another wonderful lady, Meg Lunn, and she and I started working together on various little scientific projects. She was interested in the energies and how that related to the body. And I had the same interest. I was interested in looking at the energies of aura, and you can look at it not from the perspective of the typical aura machines that are out there, the photography, and you see these auras. We're looking at it from the radiesthesia perspective of what are the colors associated with these various energies. And we also knew something called biogeometry at that point in time and understood a lot about that. And so we could look at colors, and I looked at colors around the head, and I discovered, well, these colors, the people who are saints all had the violet color, and the people who are the mass killers of the world in the past or present, they had the red color. Then Meg looked at this and says, these are all attachments. And I said, are they really? And I looked at that because with radiesthesia, you can figure out what are attachments and what are not attachments. And based upon that, I said, yeah, they are all attachments. And we, at that time, we also had attachments around the eyes and ankles and everywhere else. And no one realizes these things. And so we've learned how to uh, get rid of attachments. And so these things went away, but then miraculous things started happening. And the energies of ourselves started to change, and the colors and things that we could really detect started to really change. That was in 2023. So 20 years had gone by now in terms of my journey, but it's been a progressive journey all along. And I met some marvelous people along the way, many, many amazing folks. Gals like Carolyn Corey, Mata, Eliza Mata, et cetera, and a lot of the gurus that are out there. And lately, I've been meeting some more of the folks that are very, very interesting, and sometimes in channeling, and that's a whole different story. And I have some amazing friends who have channeled and are probably the best channelers in the world, I think. They've really had some amazing, amazing stories, and I've been part of that story of this whole thing, the Challenger astronauts and Columbia astronauts, um, and we had sessions that we met with Tesla and Yogananda, et cetera, in various other channeling sessions, and old friends like John Denver, well, whom I went to junior high with, and things of that nature. And we were able to connect with lots of different folks. So that's just another side story. That's not really the purpose of this thing, but it just says that I've been on this journey, and I'd say the last 5 years of this journey have been absolutely amazing because of the energies that have changed and energies that of who we are is so different, and things that would kill us eventually, like EMF, no longer bother us. So again, I don't know if
Wow.
it applies to everybody, but in
Okay.
lots of things that you said, we need this because this trinket or this whatever it might be is good for you. Most of those things, if you know the personal wavelength, you don't need these things any longer. So we have all changed and we're evolving to being who we really are. That is, and we've always been, but we never realized. And we really never realized that everything is within. And that's the reason the affirmations came back into existence. And we said, I am within and beyond without the D, because the D is a limitation. There is no limitation. We have no limitation. And therefore, it's beyond and it's within. And I'll talk more about that as we get into our conversation. But that is how of this began for me. And I'm just evolving, continuing to evolve because in the last 5 years, if you look at the Bovis chart, the light measurement chart, you see the curve because I can go back in time and take a look at what I was in year 2000 and what happened each year afterwards, and I see that evolution. And I'd say lots of people are undergoing that same evolution. I'm not unique. No one listening to this program is really unique. We're all one. So New
Mm.
Earth One is the appropriate title because we are one and we can connect with everybody. And the reason I connect with people and I can know people's personal wavelength, I'm not reading anyone's mind. I don't do those types of things, but I can connect with people and with that information, I know their characteristics in the sense that are they evolved or not evolved? Are they integrous or not integrous? So those things I know automatically. It's just part of who I am now. And the thing is, everyone has those abilities. In my workshops that I'll be teaching, my purpose is to have everyone know how to do this. Because I'm not unique. You think, oh, Jerry's unique? No, I'm just an ordinary old guy. And I've just gone through a journey. And therefore, I'll teach you what the journey that I went through. I'll teach you personal wavelength,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll teach you to connect with anyone in the world. I'll teach you to go into the past, in addition to the current time frame. All these things you can do, and distance does not matter. Space does not matter, because I'll teach how you can send an energy from this location across the world instantaneously. It doesn't matter. Healers do it all the time, distance healing. But all these things are part of who everyone is, if as long as they recognize who they are. And that whole recognition is part of the secret. And if you go through these exercises of learning personal wavelength and do these things as an exercise, you'll come to the conclusion, yeah, everyone can do this. And your conscious level, I'm hoping, will rise. It will go up. I believe it will. So that's the reason I'm starting to teach that, because I'm interested in seeing what happens. That's just another experiment. I am an experimenter. I still am a scientist in the sense that my science now has to do with looking at things that are of the energetic nature and what things are. And Meg does the same thing. Yohim just connects automatic with everything. He's just got this special ability. And my channeling friends, they just can connect with everything also in a different way. And they're all very close friends, and I interact with them on an ongoing basis, sometimes weekly, sometimes once a month, sometimes just on Telegram. But they're amazing, amazing folks, and you learn a lot from. I've learned a lot from these last few years of interacting with these folks, and so I should stop because you have probably have questions, and I probably jumped into many, many subjects, and you want some more details or whatever. And I'm here basically to talk and express my thoughts and answer whatever questions I can do. And but my purpose is, can we increase the consciousness of the world and change the way that we look at the world and change enough people in the world so that the world will in fact change. You know, Hawkins used to talk about if you increase the level of the ocean, everyone will go up in terms of levels of consciousness. And in the December, January timeframe of this year, a lot of people went from this joylessness state into something that's more. So things are in fact happening, and those things we can detect. So something did happen. And Meg has this chart of human evolution. And it's not the same type of charts that Althea Gray has in terms of light measurement, or um, David Hawkins has in terms of 0 to 1,000. It's a different type of chart. It's a chart that says the characteristics of all of us. Are we joyous? Are we harmonious? Are we honest? So all these things are part of the evolution of us. It's not, evolution isn't just a number that goes up. Evolution is learning about who we are. And as we go through the spirals of evolution, and it is a spiral, you're spiraling in towards a center, and your pendulums will go, you'll start out here, you're at the edge, And if you're not very evolved, you'll go part way through. But as you evolve, you go into the center. And when you're fully evolved in all these various attributes, you have these attributes that they're a part of you. And it's these attributes that are also very important. It's not a number. A number helps to identify things, but who we are, what we are all these things that matter. It's how we interact. Are we loving? How do we treat our fellow man and women? All these things are part of who we really are. And that is really the true evolution of us. These numbers are there. They give you guidance in terms of where you are, but learning your true essence and going through. And I learned most of these things just by reading and being experiential and learning how to deal with people. If you're married, you learn how to deal with your spouse first, because there's a lot of learning in that. And we all go through that. That is part of our evolution. And then we broaden that and we broaden it to encompass all of humanity. And that's where I am now. I've learned a lot in the process, but now I'm trying to get the world to another level. And I'll do the best that I can in terms of the ways that I do things. It's certainly different from anyone else. But that's where my journey is going. So
I know I'm not the only one that is just so impressed and amazed by you and everyone watching. I did a little bit of homework with Jerry and I was in a class that he gave on New Earth One Network on radioesthesia. It's your personal wavelength. And so just to define that, radioesthesia is really pendulum work where we are using a pendulum to identify a frequency of ourself. And then we can use that on other things. And you go deep into this, and your class is all on that. And that is what radiesthesia is. That's a new word for me. And I'm certain members in our audience, that's new to them too. But that's the science behind it. And so we've all known about the pendulum work, right? We do the pendulum work, but you're taking it to such a scientific level that it really is impressive. So I just want to, we're going to go into that little science and more about looking and reading our own energy. But let's talk about, wow, your growth over the last 23 years has been such a deep personal journey. I'm just so impressed by it. Here you were, you sold a multi-million dollar company and then went on this spiritual journey, and you saw the energy in that yoga class, that qigong class, and that changed your life. When you look back at that, do you recognize an aspect of yourself? Like, was there a past life, a reincarnation? Did you make that connection? You are a master, and yet you studied the master, Yogananda, David Hawkins. Oh my goodness. How is John Denver doing? Let me just ask on a side note, how is he doing?
he's
John
marvelous.
Denver.
He and Robin Williams, my channeling friends connect with them on an ongoing basis. They're doing all very well. They all are. But maybe a clarification on the radiesthesia thing before I
Yes,
jump
yes.
into it.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Radiesthesia, the pendulum is just a focusing device, and you're looking for specific energies, and there's the uh, left brain can't detect it, but the right brain can detect it. And just like you look into a microscope and see another world that's smaller, or you look through a telescope and see another world that's further away, what radiesthesia is determining the resonance of uh, whatever that energy is. It could be color, it could be the color of my shirt, for example, blue, and so you want to look at the energy of blue, and that energy has wavelength associated with it. And so what a pendulum does, it focuses in into that blue and determines that wavelength, that length, the length of string between the finger and the weight of the pendulum, and that focuses into that energy. And it's your mind still doing it. It's not necessarily your conscious mind that's doing it. And the information isn't really going into your conscious mind, but it's going into your subconscious mind. And that length of string will cause the pendulum to rotate in a clockwise manner. And you can therefore use that to detect the energies of virtually anything very specifically, whether it be yourself, a color, an angle, a scent, uh, and anything you can think of, sound, you can connect with the wavelength of that. And by working with that, you can understand and know different things. So that is what radiesthesia is. It's a focusing device that, and people, a person who hasn't done it before will think, oh, that's just magic and it's not real. And that's the reason I teach it, because then they know it's real, because if they do it, and if they look at the blue color and get the wavelength of the blue color, and they go to a black or blue or orange or whatever, the pendulum does not go clockwise. It only goes clockwise with blue because now you identified the blue. And therefore, this is real versus, well, this is Jerry's imagination. And a lot of scientists will say just that. It's not real. And that's the reason I teach it so they experience it. And once they experience it, they know the reality that they can connect with subtle energies. Subtle energies are in everything. And you can detect it in anything. And you can, and since time and space is immaterial, you can detect it anywhere, anytime. And it's just who we are. So I should now answer your question. State your question again one more time, and then I'll answer it.
We're just going to roll forward because what you said is just so amazing. Okay, so again, it's the science behind a pendulum. The pendulum is just an instrument to measure what you're talking about. Everything is energy. Everything is energy, down to a stone, a crystal, right? It's just it's subtle energy. And so that is what you are measuring. And I was in that class, and it actually is quite amazing. That's why we're so excited for you to be sharing this, because and I just have to honor your giant heart and your mission for humanity, and your humbleness says it all. You are an incredible master. You have all the attributes, and especially the humbleness of what you do, and the generosity of your heart. It's just so beautiful. So, okay, here we have the subtle energy. Everything is light. You teach this to people. We'll go more into that in a moment. But you have identified something really interesting in the past few years. We've all been feeling it. I would say 2025. And so, okay, let me back up. Um, we know that the Kali Yuga has ended in March of 2025. Kali Yuga, we have come out of the doldrums of that deepest, darkest cycle where Jesus walked on our planet right before we went into that darkest point. And so now we're coming out of that. You're finding something very interesting. Now, for those who don't know about the yugas, the highest yuga is a golden age on our planet, and we can look at many sacred sites and see structures and things and technologies and even tools that are found in our ancient sites that no way in our current technology can we do something like that. So those are instances of an old golden age. So that's one aspect of it. There's the Gene Keys by Richard Rudd, who channeled this information. He had 3 days of a bliss state where he downloaded this information. And what we've learned from the Gene Keys is that our world is literally, we are moving into new eras and new times. And that even last year, last February, something was going on. Even this year, we've really come into the Aquarian age. So all of these different modalities are showing us that these are cycles within cycles, but you have just that are all lining up, and there's a great shift. But you have found something very interesting. You said your energy shifted. You said something in the beginning that EMF that used to bother some of us, or 5G that used to bother some of us, don't bother us anymore. Or it's in an individual basis. I want to clarify that. And that's very interesting. So let's have you chat about what happened in 2023. You saw in your measurements something happen. And then last year, something happened. And if we were looking at a chart of energies, it's almost like the hockey puck diagram where something just went whoosh, right? We just hit something. It's the hockey stick where we were going along, but something just happened. Can you explain that for us?
Yeah, I think the shift is occurring, and your description of the that whole change of the galactic rotation around the Earth, around the whole galaxy, and the precession and things that are happening, I think are very, very valid, and that is likely a causative factor in this. It's a cycle that we're going through. But what we observed is that in 2023, we each have our energies within the body and in our biofield. And all that has a very particular structure associated with it. So if I looked at what we looked like in 2023, we'd see a central column of different colors, and it went out into the biofield and back into the bottom of the feet, and it would rotate in, and our biofield looked like uh, bands of different colors that were there. And we had bands of energies that we called BG3369 at that point in time. Um, and our biofield was about 5, 6 feet as a typical diameter. But 1 year later, all that had changed. We underwent many activations during that year of 2023 to 2024, and we had new structures coming into ourselves. There was this rainbow reindeer scenario in which we had new energies coming into the pineal area, above our head, above our ears. We had changes that there's channels that were mother-father channels on either side of us, and those merged into one. All the colors within our aura changed. Instead of various colors and specific things, it all became white with all colors. And then we started radiating out all these energies that were there. So new structures, changes of flows of structures, changes of flow within the brain, pineal gland and pituitary gland. It evolved month to month to month. There are changes that were happening. And while all these things were happening, our energy levels started going up. And the old energies got replaced. We think, well, we had this masculine, feminine energy, and we call them sometimes 369 BG3 as were the initial energies. But then we evolved, and it's just like an electron jumping to another orbital. It's no longer in that orbital, it's in another orbital. And so you can't detect it over here, but now you detect it over here. So that was what was happening with regard to our energies. It changed, and the old energies jumped to different colors, new colors, crystalline blue, crystalline pink, etc. There's a whole series of different colors that it went into. And so by the time the initial colors were initial masculine, feminine energies, and you can look at these as rotations of light also. There's two aspects of it. You have these rotations of light, and one's masculine, one's feminine going out. And so these got replaced by higher energy levels, whether it be crystalline blue, crystalline pink, and, or other colors, and went through a series of colors, and the energy levels went up to um, from 200, around 500 to 10,000 to a million. And by 2024, it was up to a trillion. And the energy structures also changed. There are other structures that came into being that I have to almost show you the structures of it. And you had the various segments of different masculine and feminine, which were now of different colors, linking together and linked together with the yin yang structures. And all these things were, in fact, happening. And while all this was happening, our energies coincided with all these changes. So as we were evolving, our energies were now up to 900 trillion by 2024, from around 500 in 2023. And that continued to evolve into new structures, eventually new elemental elements. We always think, oh, elementals, Aristotle talked about it, and these are sort of imaginary things of fire, earth, water, ether. But yeah, there are ways that these come together in electromagnetic ways that now are part of who we really are, and they have different meanings to it. But as all these things start coming together, by end of 2024, that hockey stick started. Now we're into the quadrillions, and then we're into the multi quadrillions going up into 24, and then in 25, it really started taking off. And we are now measuring it in terms of 10 to the 10 to whatever power it is, because just using quadrillion, 10 to the 15th, 15 zeros was way insufficient. So now we're into numbers that are way higher than that. And in September of 2025, our energies had reached the level of 10 to the 10 to 165th power. And affirmations were also going up, because affirmations is something that connects us to who we are. We're all creators, so that connects us. And those affirmations, whether it be I am, rethink I am, or I am, whatever it may be, kept up with our energies, and also was reflected in these structures that were there also, whether it be the masculine, feminine, or the combinations of them, and went into very complex forms with elementals. But whatever it is, it was all going up. So, but affirmations in September stopped. It stopped at 10 to the 10 to 130th power, which is a huge number. But by December of 2025, we can no longer detect the affirmations. I am, okay, that was a very powerful affirmation. That was the whole basis of my book, who we are. But I can't detect that any longer. Why? And Johim came up with a very interesting scenario. He introduced the words within and beyond. And beyond is not with a D, with an N, Beyon. So our inner, it's what it says, the beyond is fairly easy to describe. There is no limitation. Who we are has no limitation. So
Mm.
beyond. And then, okay, if I now say I am within and beyond, the affirmation now coincides with who I am. It coincides with the energies I'm measuring, and coincides with the affirmations and ourselves. They now match. So there's a message there. The message is within. How do you decipher what does that mean? Well, we've always thought, and I've always taught in my book, we're always connected with God. We're created, and God is is really within us, and we sort of just take it for granted that that's everything is of that, whether it be a stone, a plant, or whatever. God is within everything, but we never truly bring it in to ourselves as to who we are, because we've been taught, that is something out there. Say anything else is blasphemy, and you can't do that. Well, the reality is we are all within. We are all God. We're all part of that. And so it is everyone. It's in the rock. It's in the plant. It's all within. But to recognize that and to take ownership of that, that's where the growth comes from. That is reason that you say, I am within and beyond. You don't define it. And then there's some rules that we learn in radiesthesia of equivalence. You can find out if something is one thing is equivalent to another thing with the pendulum because the pendulum will connect and it's equivalent. So that equivalence really said that God or source is within me. It's all within. And and I learned that the first time when I decided to uh, take water and increase the energy of the water. That's before this within and beyond thing. Um, Before, if you just take water, which has a reading of 200 in the overall scale, and you put your hands around it, it'll go up to 1,000. Just put your hands around water and you measure the energy of the water, it'll go up to 1,000. And if you lightly say, yeah, bless the water, it'll go up to 10,000, or maybe a little bit more. But what I learned was that if you now make an emphatic statement, I am blessing this water, you take ownership of who you are.
Hmm.
And when I stated that, the water went up to 1,000,000.
Wow.
But now I have other ways of doing that because my energy is now unmeasurable and yours are too. Most people who are listening to this session are at that level. They just don't know it because they don't measure and they don't do the personal wavelength. They don't do the things I do, but they're unmeasurable. It's that level. So now all I have to do is make a statement. I am copying my I am energy into this water, I can say permanently, or into a little uh, tile, and you put your water on top of it, and the tile will have this energy, and then put water on it, it'll have that energy. And now it's unmeasurable. It's more than 1,000,000. It's at the level where you can't measure it any longer. So all these things are possible. And that really says who we really are and to understand who we really are. And that is what I want people to do it for themselves so that they know themselves. Uh, we are all that way. I am not anyone special. I am just another guy. And I just have to go through, and I'm curious, and I like science, and I'm curious about the way things are put together. So I study it and I do experiments because I like doing these things. And therefore, I learn things. Meg likes doing things, and she learns all sorts of things. Yohim just knows things. He's the ultimate teacher because he just knows things. And so that I probably have spoken enough, and I'm sure you have questions, but I'm just throwing stuff out to
Keep
you.
keep tossing it out. I mean, keep bringing it out because this is so amazing. And I know some have their minds blown at this point. I really just want to say, quantum physics reveals what you're talking about. It confirms what you're talking about. And so yet you're ahead of it because of the measurements that you've been doing and how you've been watching since 2023. And I can say 2025 was a tumultuous year for many people. And I can attribute it to these energies that we may not be aware of, but we know something is up. And I find it uncanny as you were telling us that story and that history of what went on in these most recent years is that when people were moving through 2025 and the world, the collective out there, we're not going to get into it. It looks like it's moving backwards. And so that helped a lot of us go back to what we're calling the basics. And now we're okay, we've studied spirituality, we've studied that teacher, we've studied channeling, we've studied this concept, we understand quantum physics, but yet in 2025 we started going back to the basics so that we could embody the wisdom. And that's exactly saying what happened in these past few years. I'm going to go back to that. You had a diagram that we saw, and it was an image of the human energy system, and it had the two columns. You called it the male and the female channel, right? Which is like what the Ida and the Pingala in the Hindu energy system. So the male and the female. What you said was that that is now one column. So
Yeah.
the male and female aspects merged within us,
Well, it was there's a father and mother channel that are
father
on
and
either
mother,
side of us,
father and mother.
and those merged into single one. So now we're connected with our higher self directly.
Ah,
So
okay.
we are now connected, and all
Mhm.
that information, way back in the beginning, there were two different channels, and they're separate and
Mhm.
weren't really communicating, but they merged and they're starting to communicate. And eventually, over the year, it merged into a single channel. And
Okay.
so that we are connected. Even our chakras have evolved. We still think of chakras as these spinning wheels that are in our bodies, but if you check your chakras, you'll find that those spinning bodies, or other than where the heart is, they're no longer spinning there. But they have evolved to something else, and Mike calls them movements. They're ribbons of energies in those areas, and movement is like a symphony, and you have a movement within a symphony, and so that's who we are. And the elementals are now surrounding us and interacting with us in all sorts of ways also. And it's not just fire, water, earth, it's different names and different ways that they have come together to be part of who we really are. So we have changed in ways that you can't even imagine. And I
Wow.
have hard time grasping it all because the things that are changing are still happening very, very rapidly. And we, that's just the way it is. And also, I think that part of all the evolution, we're all here to evolve, and the evolution is such that, well, you can't evolve if you don't see the whole picture. And if you see all the discordant things that are happening, then you say, ah, this is not really the truth, and
Mhm.
therefore if you're really thinking about it, where is the truth versus, oh, I'm just going to listen to whoever's in charge and that's what it'll be because they're always right. They know more than me. No, you are the ultimate person. It's all
Mhm.
within you and within
Mhm.
each of us. And therefore, you have to take ownership of who you are because
Mhm.
everyone is amazingly delightful. Everyone is of this divine being, and you take possession of who you are, and
Yeah.
that is how you evolve. If all you're doing is doing nothing, then you're not serving the purpose of why you came into existence. You're here to evolve in whatever it is that you're doing. It doesn't matter. You've chosen things and you have certain lessons to learn, and you go through this evolution. And so go through it, evolve, and evolve in your own way. No one else is telling you anything. You have that free will to do whatever it is that you want to do. And it's following your heart,
Mm.
because your heart sort of guides you along the way. And I'd say that has been one of the key things about myself. I've, for most of my life, I've just followed my heart. If I wanted to go into some field, I just went into those fields. If I wanted to start something, I just started something. I had to figure out what, and you have to go through the phases of that, but that's what you do. And it's all part of, there's another guy, Arthur Young, um, and he talks about evolution, and it's the theory of evolution that he talks about. And it is a spiral also. And the spiral goes through. So you evolve from the particles to the atoms to the molecules to life of different types. And eventually you come to man or humanity, and humanity is now evolving to its own level. So it's all the spiral that is going through as you go through these sequence of things that are happening. And Arthur Young described it very perfectly. And he had the torus structure there. It all comes back to that torus structure. And that's what quantum physics and Nassim Haramein and others talk about, uh, and and how you build from that. But that's all part of the whole same story of evolution that is occurring. And it's a beautiful story, and that's what is happening. And so what we should do is just be ourselves, be amazingly delightful, love ourselves, and do the things that we're meant to do in life, whatever that may be.
I love being amazingly delightful.
You
That
are.
is worthy of a sticky note, everyone. Write that down. I am amazingly delightful. I am within and beyond. That is embodiment where we are recognizing ourselves as that source consciousness, God, energy, creator, energy, whatever phrase or term we want to use. This is that part of our evolution. Wow, isn't it exciting? It's exciting to me.
It
And
is.
again, I'm just so honored on the work that you do. And looking at this, putting on from my angle of it, here we talk with a lot of psychics, we talk with a lot of um, people, healers, and people, clairvoyants who are now seeing the dragons. There's a lot of dragon activity. And that came online right along this time that you're saying these elementals. Dragons are elementals. It's almost like we will be seeing, now I'm going to sound a little woo, but now we will be seeing unicorns and dragons. We're already seeing dragons in the sky, sylphs in the sky. What is your take on that? It's not just woo-woo anymore. It's about us becoming more into our heart. So what is your take on the human evolution? You said be amazingly delightful and stay in the heart. Is there anything else?
It's being ourselves as we evolve. I think that says it all. And these structures, if you look at some of Meg's, when I look at some of her pictures that she takes of whether it's aurora borealis or other types of things in the skies and the clouds and sunsets, you do find these other energies, and sometimes it's dragon energies, and sometimes it's other energies that are there. And in her evolution of describing things, she figured out some of these dragon energies that were there and the structures of that because they look like the dragon on these structures. When I used to talk about uh, masculine, feminine, and linking up of those things, and there's energies called fireflies dancing. Some of these energies they came together. Ah, there's a dragon in there. And she finds them and she describes some of these things. But if you go look into the sky, you'll find these energies that are there that you didn't know it was there before, but now we have the tools to find them. Because her tools, she puts the charts together, and the charts have these energies that are there in the charts. And there's quite a few of them at this point. There's masculine and feminine versions of these elemental electromagnetic energies that are there. And they come in pairs typically, and sometimes they're singular, but they're there and they're surrounding us and they're in everything, whether it be in our foods, in the clouds, in the plants. It is all part of the structure of everything. So yes, it's all there.
Okay, all right. We are really excited for the class that you're going to teach, and I invite everyone to check it out. This is an amazing time to work with this amazing teacher. He is such a scientist and he's so humble. He wants everyone to get this beyond getting it. He wants everyone to live this in your own evolution of consciousness. And so here we go. We're going to learn your techniques. This is knowing our amazing abilities as keys to increasing our level of consciousness. Now, in this workshop, you are going to be teaching how we can charge our water, how we can know, how we can find our personal wavelength. Why is that so important? And then tell us why or what more we can learn in this class.
Well, once you learn how to detect subtle energies, you detect it anywhere. So now you're learning to detect it within yourself. That by itself has a lot of meaning to it because if you connect with yourself and you put another item, whether it be a drug, food, uh, cell phone, or whatever it might be, and you now connect your energies with that, you can find out if that is in resonance with you or not. If something is not in resonance with you, don't eat it or don't take that medicine or don't, it's not going to do you any good. And so you learn the distinction of being in resonance or not in resonance. Not in resonance means it's toxic to you. Before cell phones were toxic, 5G was toxic to you. Now with your energies very much higher, the pendulum, instead of going counterclockwise, which is negative for you, not in coherence with you, or not in resonance with you, it just goes back and forth. It's not necessarily good for you, but it's not going to kill you. It's neutral to you. Something going clockwise is good for you. And you go grocery shopping, I bring my pendulum along and find out if it's in resonance with me or not. Because not all foods, well, they may say it's organic, but that's just a word. Where did it really grow, and what is there any contamination? You don't know. And something that's not organic may be just as good and at less price. But you know all these things. Is that essential oil good for you or not? Or do you need it? So that's that aspect of it. But once you know your personal wavelength, you not only for yourself, but you can, in healing, working with somebody, you can zero in on that person across the globe because you now are zeroing in on that person's wavelength. And now you're connected to that wavelength. And now you can do some things that you know you're connected to because the pendulum says you're connected to that. If you're voting, and we just went through the votes in California, 60 some odd candidates or whatever for one office. Okay, how do you choose? Well, do you choose by what they say, or do you choose by their level of integrity and truthfulness? So you can have different parameters to look at versus just what they say, because people say all sorts of things because this depends on where their evolution is. And you'll be surprised where the evolution of a lot of people are. Uh, I think the group that you're dealing with and I'm dealing with is another level. So if I were to check it, the pendulum will go all the way into the center and everyone is very evolved. But a lot of people aren't. And who do you listen to? People don't know. And therefore, do I listen to this or not? Are they telling the truth or not? Uh, it's a way of knowing. That's all it is. And it's just for your own purpose. It's not to control anyone's thinking or anything else. It all comes down to who you are and what you want to do. And for me, everyone's here to evolve and learn. So I've been learning, and so I'm evolving, and that's the reason my curve has gone up. But everyone can do that. And so my purpose is evolve and see where you are, learn who you really, really are, and be the person that you want to be, because that's your free will.
And this is where the conversation is so inspiring. Really, it's such a breath of fresh air. What we're going through from when we look from this perspective of what's happening and we look out at the world, wow, it's so much easier now. I think we can all take a sigh because um, we are coming more into ourself. We're coming into more knowing of our own energy. We're coming into wisdom that we did not know we had. That is such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And now it makes the problems of the outside world literally drop away. I know we still care deeply for the planet. We are those light workers that came here to assist our planet. But this wisdom that you're sharing makes us take full responsibility in our life to know things in such a masterful way. And I have to be careful. Some people don't like the word God, but this is a godlike way. This is we are part of that pure consciousness of the void, of the stillness of everything. And so learning a skill like this is so beneficial. And thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing it. I want to say this webinar that's coming up, you need a pendulum. And I'm certain most people in this audience already have one, but it can be anything. It could be a necklace. It could be a weight on the end of a string. But do yourself a favor and go get a
Well,
pendulum if you don't have
yeah,
one. Do you
it's
want
good
to
to get
say anything?
it's
Yeah.
good to get a neutral pendulum.
And what's the difference between a neutral versus any other pendulum? Like,
Well, if you have a crystal, it may resonate with other crystalline-like
ah,
materials, and therefore you don't want that. So if you have something that is, let me show one to
yeah,
you.
like you have
And,
one that's
and
yeah.
yeah, if you have something like an acrylic ball, and there's a website, I think it's called a neutral pendulum, but it's on my thing that I wrote up.
Yes.
It can be that. It can be something that is wooden, but some wood are too light, and I use a very thin string on it so that the energies from your right brain will flow easily into something of that nature. But getting an acrylic one is not very expensive. And I think the person that I'll direct this stuff to is not my company or anything of that nature. It's fairly inexpensive. And the neutral pendulum is what I use to measure personal wavelength with, because it is neutral. It's not going to take up the energies of anything else. And so, like, you can put, if you put water into a container that looks like a pendulum, then you can use that. It'll pick up water anywhere. Anyone can pick up water by just tuning into water. And dowsers do it because they know they are water and they tune into that. It's really radiesthesia, but they don't even call it that. They don't even recognize that.
Mhm.
But I have little vials of water. I put a string on it and use that as a pendulum. It'll pick up water. And so pendulums will pick up energies, but if you make the intention of picking up the energy of yourself or color, that's what guides it. And you don't want it to get confused, and that's the reason you use a neutral pendulum.
Okay, then. All right. So perfect, perfect. Um, I am so, I'm feeling so alive in this moment. There's not a worry in the world. And that's a good place to be because the world feels heavy, right? The world absolutely feels heavy. So, Jerry, I When you look out at the scene in the world, knowing what you know and knowing how we are being energized, we are new humans with this energy. What do you think is going on? You're not worried about anything. You're actually looking way beyond, not beyond, you're looking beyond this
Well, no,
current
what I
situation.
am is I try to be home most of the time, and Yohi teaches that. And being home is being in the essence of who you are. And so if you make the statement, I am within and beyond, that statement brings you home. And if you breathe that statement and say, breathe in with I, out with am, uh, within, in, and out, in with the beyond. So you just concentrate on breath. As you concentrate on breath as I am within and beyond, and you close your eyes and state it a few times, I am within and beyond. I am within and beyond. I am within and beyond. You bring that stillness into you, and you're home, and everything is quiet, and you are in that stillness. So right now, as I've done this, that stillness now pervades the audience and yourself. And that is where you are, and that's where you want to be. Uh, yes, you're still part of the world, you still do things and deal with things, but you're doing it from a place of within, and you're unlimited. So you can just do whatever it is that you truly want to do that is of a loving, harmonious nature. But affirmations are beautiful. And if you go to my website, uh, jerrygin.com, and it's just a HTTPS // jerrygin.com. On the very top, I think it says affirmations on there. You click on that and it'll list a whole bunch of affirmations. The ones I used to use all the time was I am rethink, rethink I am. But that dropped to zero, so I use it. I am rethink, rethink I am within and beyond. And that brings it back up to that infinite level because that's who you are. And that says it more accurately. Before it worked fine because that's where I was in my evolution at that point in time. But where I am now, the within and beyond is needed to get that level. So I should leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. We feel that stillness
Yeah.
that you exuded. And again, this is so rich. Thank you. This is so uh, hopeful on our planet at this time. Um, and so there's no we can because we're at home within ourselves. I truly hope everyone who's watching and experiencing some of the denser, heavier emotions as we navigate these times, I sincerely hope that you're feeling this shift, this energy, this newness that you are. And we invite you to learn about this. Learn from Jerry Jin, Dr. Jerry, I want to call him, PhD in biochemistry, now witnessing this change in human evolution and the energy of us. It's off the charts. No wonder we've been feeling the way we've been feeling going through these things. Jerry, when you look out at like solar flares, are you seeing any correlation with the sun or the movement of our universe through our solar system through the universe? Or it's just where do you think this energy is coming from?
Everything is connected, and the galactic center is where a lot of stuff comes from. So we're part of that system. And so during the process, we saw energies change, where energies were centered, uh, and we learned some amazing things about even our sun. that no one ever even thinks about. Uh, and and there's one book, let's see, Destiny and Its Causes, Meher Baba. He talks about um, the the nature of how things evolved from nothing, how God got creation going, and and that's an amazing thing. But in the process, he talks about the evolution of the planetary system, and he talks about the sun behind the sun, and which is interesting. You'd think, oh, that's just sort of nonsense, but a reflection with a pendulum, the pendulum goes counterclockwise. You have a flashlight, shine it into a mirror, and the light that comes off the mirror is counterclockwise. The light coming in is clockwise on the pendulum. And when you look at the sun, look at it. It's just an interesting observation. Is the pendulum going clockwise or counterclockwise? You'll find it goes counterclockwise.
Ooh.
So that's a reflection. So, and Meher Baba's book talks about that. So I'll just leave it at that. The
Ooh.
evolution of things is sort of intriguing, and I just
Yes,
find
and
it
when you're
interesting.
talking about mirrors and light, I'm thinking hologram. Is the sun a hologram,
It's or is the Earth?
or is the Earth the
Yeah,
ah? Oh my
there,
God, I
there,
just
there,
got
there's some things
chills. Oh
there
my
that I
God.
won't go
Okay,
into, but
we
read
won't
the
go into it.
book,
That's another.
Meher
That,
Baba,
wow.
Creation as Causes. That's what the book is. Creation as Causes.
What is it? Creation.
Creation and its causes.
Okay. Mira Baba.
Meher, then Baba, Baba.
Okay, Mayor Baba. Wow. Okay, so if the sun, behind the sun, that's the 2 points of light, and then the Earth is a hologram.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going deep into quantum physics, and that is where we're going to end our show right now. But wow, that's a whole nother conversation. Again, I want to invite everyone. We can feel your wisdom. And I was in the first class that you taught on find your personal wavelength. Can we include that recording with the purchase of this webinar? People can get a little introduction.
Feel free to do whatever you want to do. My purpose is to expand. And in my class workshop, I'll go through bits and pieces of personal wavelength in case they haven't done it, simply
Okay,
because it's foundational.
yes.
You have to learn how to detect subtle energies and
Okay.
to detect your own subtle energies. And that's the beginning of learning what things really are. Because if you do it yourself, then you know versus anyone else doing it, uh, they're just moving the fingers. The pencil is going. Yeah, you're moving your fingers, but that's not you doing it. That's the energy doing it. But you don't recognize that. And so people say, will say all sorts of things that because they don't understand what it is that they're truly doing or what I'm trying to teach in terms of the personal wavelength.
Yeah, that first class, we will include it with the purchase of this webinar. So look on that, everyone, and you'll get that. That class with the pendulum, it's very clear when we know very without a doubt when the energy is connected, when it's resonant, when we're tuned into the resonance, because we can see it with the pendulum. We can watch the pendulum change, and that's what's amazing about it. So, okay, tremendous work. I again am so you're just stay tuned to your life and the workings of your life and what comes up for you because you're doing incredible stuff. And I thank you so much for this. So as you look at the world, you have to be optimistic of what's changing in our evolution. Yes? Final thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. The world is evolving. We are evolving, and this will continue. And we have a say in how the world evolves because of who we are. So we will create the new world accordingly, and everyone will create it accordingly, and things will change.
Yes, they already are. We just need to look under the hood a little bit more to see exactly what's going on. And that's what your work does. Your work goes and looks under the hood at the energies affecting us. And wow, it's amazing. Jerry, Jen, thank you, thank you, thank you for this quantum conversation.
Well,
Namaste.
thank you. I appreciate what you're doing.
This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in unity consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.